welcome to another DCU Tonight. I'm your host, Rock Var, here live on Var Nation to bring you all the news that is news or isn't news in the DC universe. So thank you for joining me here live. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got DCUO news to start with, then we'll jump over to DC TV talking about Supergirl and The Flash. A lot going on there. Then it's over to DC Comics for the wrap-up. We'll talk hashtag DC TV secrets and check out the pull list for this week, although we have already. So we'll go do that. In the meantime, we're also going to talk a little bit about stat clamping in today's show. And I know that it's a topic of conversation as well, and get some opinions from you guys out there who, help make the decisions. The devs are always looking to players to get ideas on what to do or what people like or don't like. So I'm going to urge you to voice your opinions, whatever those opinions may be. But starting out, we have huge DCUO news this week. Actually, tomorrow, we're going to find out what's going on in episode 22. So episode 22 is the next episode scheduled to launch in DCUO, and we're going to find out tomorrow what's going to be going on there. So episode 2, this announcement comes from the forums in the announcement section. Meps put the announcement up, looks like yesterday afternoon. He says, episode 22 will be playable on the public test server. Join us live for a preview of the episode's new content, styles, and base items. The live stream will begin at 12 p.m. Pacific on Thursday, February 11th. So we will be tuning into that to watch. We'll take down as much information as we possibly can. And in the next DCU Tonight, we'll go over it. So that'll be our DCUO topic for Friday's show. I'm excited. I have no clue what's going to be there. No idea. I have not seen any information on it whatsoever, so it's going to be all new to me. I'm pretty confident that it'll be Meps and SJ doing the stream and probably going through some of the content and showing us what it is. So we'll be sure to take lots of screenshots, take lots of notes. That way we can have an in-depth conversation about it on Friday when we do the late show. Actually, Friday won't be a late show. No, that's awesome. My work schedule this week worked out to where I'm on tomorrow night, but not Friday night. So Friday will be as scheduled, probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock, depending. So outside of that, in DCUO, things are still running very smoothly with the PC crossplay. I haven't seen any issues. I have seen some rather disturbing things in chat and Watchtower over the past couple of days, but that's nothing new. I mean, that can't be blamed on anyone in particular. That just happens from time to time. But I did get to exercise that block button the other day, I'm going to call it. I don't know if it's a button, an option to block a player, and it works phenomenally. So that's what I suggest. If you see things in chat that you don't want to see, if it's so bad that you feel like you need to report it, definitely report it. But if it's just some minor annoyances, you can go and block that player, and you're not going to see anything they say. You're not going to end up in any chat, any groups with that person when you're running, pugging or whatever. So it's phenomenal. I'm really happy the devs put that in there. Now, I know it's been in there for a long time. This is nothing new, but just to get it back out there again, the more we talk about some of the things that we like and dislike, the more they're likely to stay or go. And so that brings me to the next kind of conversation that we have, and I want to talk a little bit about stat clamping because it's something that's been bothering me for a while. Other people may feel differently. There's no right or wrong way to look at it, but I want to urge folks to voice their opinions and get them out there, especially if you can on the forums. Now, there's a lot of, I don't know what to call it. It's a forum, so just let's keep in mind that you're going to get a lot of opinions. You're going to get a lot of people that are bigger than themselves. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but that super confidence that someone may get when they're online and just kind of saying things that they wouldn't normally say in their everyday life. So you have to keep in mind you're going to see some, very conservative or very I shouldn't use that word. That's not what I mean. Um, you're going to see some level-headedness, but you're also going to see some heightened emotions. And I'm sure you can relate to it. I'm sure there's been times in your life where you've felt very passionately about something. You've maybe said something or type something that you shouldn't have, and unfortunately with forums it's there for until the devs are feeling hurt, I guess is what I'm saying. I personally, the way that I go about it is if I've got something that I really want to get off my chest or something that I'm feeling very passionate about as far as the game, and I want to go and state my opinion on the forums, what I typically do is just go and I know people on the forums would get on me for this, but people on the forums would get on me for anything that I say or do. I'm not going there to have a conversation about it necessarily with the other players. I just sometimes want my opinion to be heard by the devs. So I'll just go and I'll make a nice little post, keep everything rational, state my opinion on this or that if I can. I've been known to get irrational. Don't don't take that to mean that I haven't lost my cool before, because I definitely have. Not on these forums, but on other forums. The funny thing about the DCUO forums for me is I care so much about this game that I don't want anything I say or do on the forum to bleed over into the game. So if I go on to the forum and I'm feeling very, very upset about something or something that someone else has said, we get into a back and forth, I always keep in mind that if I say something stupid or out of line on these forums and I get banned potentially or get in some kind of trouble, that could carry over to the game. And so that, I don't want to be ever banned from this game for any reason. So I mind my P's and Q's 100% when I'm on the forum, when I'm in the game, as much as I can. I've lost my cool occasionally in the game, but everyone has. Well, maybe not everyone. But my point is that keep in mind when you go to the forums and you're posting there that you may have you may put something up there that to you seems very, very intelligent and rational, and then you may have 10 or 12 people come behind you and, pick at you or pick at your point or whatever. So I just don't read it. I just put my post, and then that's that. I don't normally ever go back to it to see if anyone's interacted with it. If someone really, really wants to talk to me, I'm sure they'll send me a private message about it. So that's the way I've been doing things for a long time, because there was a time in my life when I was on forums, not these forums, but I was on forums so much, and I let things get to me that people said and other people's opinions, that go, you get dead gridlocked in argument, and before you even know it, you're not even arguing about the same thing anymore, and it just twists and turns and molds into this beast of an argument. And for somebody like me, there's no walking away from an argument. I have a real problem with that, so I had to learn to just not get into them. Because it's just not, it's not important in the grand scheme of things, whether someone else agrees with you or disagrees with you. You still agree with you, right? I mean, that's the thing. Your opinion is your opinion. I like to say my opinion is my own, because it is, and you can't have it. And if you want to copy it a little bit, sure. Or if you have a similar opinion, great. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to have my opinion, whether someone beats my head in with another point or not. I'm still going to think the way I think. So there's really, other than having a lighthearted conversation and, seeing the different sides and being open-minded about other people's points of view, there's no real point in trying to pick at someone's point of view or belittle someone's point of view, or even to feel like their point of view contradicts your own. So that's when you end up in a public domain like that, where people are very passionate normally about the same things or in the same realm of things. You're going to have some folks that may occasionally be childish and say something that is hurtful or whatever, So just keep that in mind and try not to be offended. I know, that's hard to do. I hate when people are offended. I feel horrible for people when they are offended. To me, that's like the most horrible feeling that you can have, is when you state an opinion or you believe in something, and then someone comes along behind you and nitpicks at your grammar, or or the fact that you even think that, or it just, everyone's entitled to an opinion. Everyone can have one, and everyone's opinion to them is just as legitimate as yours is to you. And that's the way I try to approach it when I go. If I end up in a conversation on forums or in any, kind of, social setting, I try to keep in mind that, when someone opens their mouth and states an opinion, they obviously feel pretty strong about it because they're putting it out there. So the first step that I take is not going to be to smash that confidence. I want to interact with that. So, just look out for other people's feelings a little bit, I guess. And if you're a fan of our nation or you tend to enjoy what we do, then that's your bag anyway. But there's some people out there who they thrive on arguments and agitation, and that's just going to be the way it is. You're going to have to learn to get around it, I guess. And I'm not the best person in the world to talk to about that. So, but the whole reason that I brought this up was that it's come to my attention that there are a lot of topics going on in regards to stat clamping with PvP, and I can see how that would be very frustrating, but my opinion on PvP is absolutely irrelevant because I don't do it very often. So, I'm not going to throw my hat into the ring and say it should be this way or it shouldn't be this way, because that's just, to me, taking away from the people who do it. I mean, if there's a guy out there who that's his whole bag is PvP, and he does or doesn't want stat clamping, I do, because I'm just shooting from the hip pocket now. What I can say, though, is in regards to stat clamping on the PvE side, I would love to see that go. It's a frustrating thing to me, really to no end, because you work really hard to get your stats up to where you are at a certain level, and so sometimes you want to enjoy that. And then to me, I do. Now that's not to say that everyone feels the same way, but my point being, we really need to take advantage of the fact that there is a forum for this game, and it is as active as it is, because it's hugely active. Whether I'm talking about it or not, there's a huge following on the forums. There's a lot of conversations going on over there, a lot of different subtopics regarding the game, and I feel like it'd be a missed opportunity if we have issues or we have things that we want to see in the game or not see in the game, not going and at least stating it. Now, that's not to say we go and we get into an argument with other people that don't feel that way, but, my point being, I think we should say something. If you do like stat clamping, if you're going into seasonal content and you don't mind everybody being in level 34 and, struggling through, then that's great. And if you do have a problem, or if it doesn't make you the happiest person in the world to go into the seasonal content and be a level 34, I'm simply stating that is the case for me, because it's bothered me for a while. So, and I think it's okay to say if I had an option, I would take it out. There's a lot of reasons to keep it in, though, and the only reason that I can think of to take it out is that I just want to. So it's not like it's killing me or anything. It's just, for me, it would make the seasonal content much more enjoyable if I could go in and, have the abilities that I have in every other mission, just for fun, because I like to see how I progress based on, year to year. So when I first start going to any of the seasonal content, but I'll take, for example, the Halloween content. When I first started going there, it was tough, and it was hard to get through, and I was a low level. And so now when I go through as a 150, I think I'm a 154 now, combat rating, when I go through, I would really like to just dominate it. And that might be annoying to other players that go in with me is the thing, but I really just would like to dominate it, because I feel like I've worked hard to get to that level. And then at some point, though, that may become boring to me, but then that's alts. That's why I have alts, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm like a 156 with Rock, and I don't know how many skill points he has now, 180, I think. And I'm not bored in any way. I really love the game. I pretty much love every thing about it, but I am having a lot of fun going back and running as a 113 healer with my other alt, or even I've got another tank character tanking, and I'm finding a real passion for healing. I really enjoy it, and the content at the 113 range is all the stuff that I really, really like to do. So I'm spending a lot of time on alts now as opposed to just playing my main, which I've done for the better part of 4 years now. I'm thinking I've played the game now for almost like 3.5 years, maybe something like that, maybe 4. And up until that point, I had alts, but I didn't really put a lot of time and effort into them. Now I'm finding a lot of fun in doing that. It's just different aspects in the game, and Task Force X brings something new to the game, and now we're playing with PC players, so there's never going to be a moment of boredom in DCUO as far as I'm concerned. So I would like to go in and be some stuff with my higher level players. And I'm sorry if I might get made fun of for saying that. I probably will, but it's just the way I feel. So nothing wrong with getting it out there. But anyway, like I said, tune in tomorrow at 12 Pacific. And there's going to be a live stream. That is on DCUO's Twitch channel, so that's not anything to do with us. That's live action DCUO. I think it's twitch.tv/DCUO or DC Universe Online, but they've got the link on the website. So if you go to the DCUniverseOnline.com, go to the forums, and you can check on that, click on that link, and it'll take you directly to the live feed, and that will be tomorrow at 12 Pacific. So, and if you haven't played DC Universe Online before, it is a free-to-play game. You can download it for free on the PC at DCUniverseOnline.com, or if you're on PlayStation 3 or 4, you can go to the PlayStation Store, download it for free that way. We are merged now. PC and PlayStation do play together on the same forums, or on the same servers, soon to come to Xbox One. So I think they said spring. It's pretty close to spring. It's February right now. So we're not too far away from that. And that's when things are going to go pop in a good way, because that's when we're on all platforms, except like Nintendo, but I don't care about that. So anyway, that is the section of the show for DC Universe Online. We're going to move over to DC TV now, starting with Supergirl, as we normally do. And I am going to switch, since we're talking about Supergirl, come over here to the girly section. Get Supergirl in the background. And it's about time for a Mountain Dew break. So we will have tonight's show, obviously. I'll have it up on YouTube later tonight with intro. I really like that intro. It reminds me a lot of Night Court. And when I was putting it together, that's what I was thinking. But we will have a show Friday probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then we won't be back on until Monday with the next week. So really the Friday show just revolves around Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. And then tonight would be Supergirl and Flash. I cannot wait to get to Flash. Wait till we get to Flash. If you haven't seen Flash yet this week, man, you are in for a treat. It was phenomenal. But we'll get to that. And we have a lot of hashtag DCTV secrets tonight. So that's always exciting. All right. So starting out with Supergirl, several different things that I want to talk about this week. It was a good episode. This was definitely not a filler episode in any way. A lot happened. It was kind of a sad episode. But when you think about the storyline and what it is, it would be sad. But that, to me, wasn't the saddest part. But I'll hang tight on that for a second. We'll start with, the title of the show, For the Girl Who Has Everything, which obviously comes from an old Superman comic, in which Superman... But the first thing that I want to talk about in this episode specifically is Kat Grant, her relationship with Kara, and her lashing out at Kara in this episode. Kat talks about being professional and keeping her work opinions to themselves, separate from her outside life, and she was going to put this wall up when it came to Kara and her son dating and not dating, and that clearly has not happened at all, because we start out this episode with Kat just relentlessly badgering Kara about her relationship habits and pretty much just way of being, and telling her that she can't stand to look at her or be in the same room with her, and she's disgusted by her and these types of things. So Kat being very, very mean about it. And I guess I can understand in a way, because it's her only son. She probably really, really hoped that they would end up together, and it was making him happy, and it was making him want to be around her, I think, is the big thing. Because at the end of the day, Kat's pretty self-centered. She's about Kat. And basically, she had been feeling bad for not being in her son's life. She gets him back in her life. He starts dating Kara. They break up, before the first, really the first date. And now he's upset. He doesn't want to be around Kara necessarily anymore. It's hurting, it's hurtful, and that's pushing him away from Kat, because she's always, kind of in the same place. So I get it, but it's still pretty childish, really. But Kat is, she's Kat Grant. That's the way it's going to be. The one scene in particular that was funny is, it makes me wonder, like, how this person has gotten to this state in their life and still behaves this way with other people. It's not Kara, so it's, I guess it's a little bit different. But in the beginning of the episode, Kara's gone because she's dealing, she's stuck in this kind of dream world of what what her life would be like if she had never left Krypton, pretty much. So she's incapacitated. Martian Manhunter has to go and fill in as Kara, because Kat's getting pissed that she's not at work, and she's like 3 hours late, I think. And so Martian Manhunter has to come in and pretend to be Kara, and obviously he is pretty poor at acting like a teenage girl, and he knows really next to nothing about the daily routines that go on at Catco. So he starts out by bringing her the wrong coffee, and it's got milk in it, and she has this conversation with him about whole milk hasn't crossed her lips since I don't know what. And Martian Manhunter takes it really well, and he's got to because he's got to maintain cover for Kara. But I'm thinking, how has she gotten to this point without wearing that milk every time she makes a statement like that to somebody? And I can't answer that question. she's Kat Grant, and that's just the way it is. But I think she's pretty lucky that Martian Manhunter realized that Kara needed that job or wanted that job, because he did not look thrilled at all with his interactions with her. The reenactment of what Krypton would be like if Kara had never left and Krypton had never exploded, and all of that was awesome. The only word that comes to mind really is wow. They did a phenomenal job with Krypton. It's everything I would have expected it to be, and I guess it's probably Kandor City, or it's probably Kandor. Could have been Argo, I don't know, but beautiful. I mean, it was just futuristic and looked like a beautiful society. It was a little bit more technology than you normally see when we're looking at Krypton. Normally they go more towards the crystals and stuff like that. This was more futuristic, looked concrete-ish, and what we would expect a future city to look like. So I was very happy with it. I liked it a lot. I liked it better than what we saw in Man of Steel, really. Because it felt less like Star Wars and more like Krypton. Okay, so we move on to the third point here that I wanted to make about this week's show. It kind of made me feel stupid, actually, because I went on this long tangent a few shows ago or a few weeks ago about Martian Manhunter and, the way he is and the way he's tied to the emotions of the planet and blah, blah, blah. Well, they decided to make me an idiot because basically DC's bringing back there's no way out of a situation except to kill. And so we have a scene here where Martian Manhunter's fighting with Kara's aunt, and she basically gets the best of him. She's got him pinned down. She tells him she's going to kill him, and then Alex stabs her through the back and kills her. And I can see how Alex might think that's the only way to resolve the situation, although Martian Manhunter does shapeshift and phase through things, and he actually phased through things several times in this fight, so it was kind of like, why wouldn't he have just phased through the knife or phased through her altogether? But yeah, so Alex stabs her in the back, basically after we've seen this other side of her on Krypton, because in the middle of this, we've already seen Kara go through, living her life out on Krypton. She meets Kal-El. She's there with her mom and dad. Non is not there at that point. He has been banished to the Phantom Zone, but her aunt is there, and they have a great relationship. So we see how this could, she's starting to see the flaws in the logic of what they're doing. She's starting to come around a little bit, but in the heat of battle, she's a warrior, and she goes for the kill, or she acts like she's going to go for the kill, and then it's at that point that Alex stabs her and she's done. I just don't know why. I mean, I know why, but there were several. It made me feel like Man of Steel all over again, because there were so many angles that they could have gone to get out of that situation and not have to kill her off, but they did. But they had Alex do it. I mean, it's not as though it was Supergirl, or it was Superman, or Martian Manhunter, or someone who could legitimately think of or find another way. It was the human. They blamed it on the human, or I guess they're showing us that these superheroes have risen above, but the lowly humans still make mistakes. But that was not the most kind of bothering part about that to me. It was Martian Manhunter's comment afterwards, where she's feeling pretty upset about it. She's feeling the regret. She's feeling the mode. And a nod to our Young Justice fans, if anyone is, she's feeling the mode. She's not very satisfied with what she's done. Martian Manhunter lied to Kara and told Kara that he did it. So she comes to him and she wants to talk to him about it, and she's basically pouring her heart out to him, and he tells her, and I quote, and this came from John Jones's mouth, "It was a righteous kill. She was a righteous kill." And that really shocked me, because I could definitely see Hank Henshaw saying that. That's a very Hank Henshaw thing to say, at least this version of Hank Henshaw that we've seen so far, which has been Martian Manhunter the whole time. But in this particular situation, there was no one listening that knew Hank Henshaw. There was no one watching that could have heard him be compassionate or, whatever. And this was still his reaction. So either being Hank Henshaw and being with the humans, or they just don't see Martian Manhunter as the same character that I do, which is possible. I mean, Jean is, this is a new version, and I'm not writing the script, so we'll see how it goes. But at any point, Kara's aunt is done, and now we just are dealing with Non as the big bad, and it is revealed that Non is the one who put the put this alien species in with Kara, and that has put her under in this way. So we know that it was him. So he is now the only villain, or he's the main villain that we're going to be dealing with, and that makes me wonder if they're going to bring in Zod at any point, or if they're even going to mention Zod at all. I don't know. We'll have to find out, but it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. The fourth point, or the next topic I wanted to go through in Supergirl, was Maxwell Lord saving the day. They have to. It's kind of like going back to Justice League Unlimited. The many times they had to kind of put their differences aside and work with Lex. Now we find ourselves in a scenario where we're seeing that with Maxwell Lord, and he has to help put Alex into Supergirl's conscience so that she can try and bring her home, because they try to pull this thing off of her, and it won't come off. And when they try to take it off, and it's kind of cool, they use like a big industrial crane type thing to try and pull it off, and when they start taking it off, it just makes her vitals drop. And so they realize automatically if they disconnect that from her, they're going to disconnect her from life. So the only way to get it out away from her is for her to leave it, and she has to want to. But the contradictory thing this whole time is we've pretty much seen her saying that this dream state that she's in isn't real, and that she has to get back to Earth. And it's not really until they send Alex in that Alex comes upon her with her family, and Kara is completely not buying the Earth thing anymore, and she thinks that she is in reality. And so she's got to get her to see that she's not, and she's got to get her to want to leave, which she inevitably ends up doing. And in the middle of all that, we get to see, and the next point that I wanted to talk about was Team Supergirl gaining Martian Manhunter's trust. So we've got Jimmy and Wen, and they both get to go to the facility where Danvers works and Henshaw works. Every time I say Henshaw, I want to say Martian Manhunter or MM. And this is the first time that they really get to be an inside part of this team. Normally it's them interacting with Supergirl, and they're fighting the bad guys or helping her do the research or whatever it is that they're doing, but they're separate from Henshaw and Alex. And this time they get to come in, and actually Henshaw reveals that he's the Martian Manhunter, and that just to me finalized the whole thing. I mean, they're pretty much in the secret society of Supergirl now. So we've got a Team Flash, and we've got a Team Supergirl, we've got a Team Arrow officially. It's phenomenal. So that was this week's episode of Supergirl. Title was For the Girl Who Has Everything. You can see that now on CBS.com. It is available to live stream. We encourage you to watch the show every Monday at 8 o'clock on CBS. And the real problem is going to come into play when Gotham is on at the same time. Not a problem for me, because I normally catch everything after the fact anyway, but which one gets the viewership? I don't know. Why do you do that to us? Why? Alright, well, the next show we want to talk about tonight is Flash. Flash, so far this week, gets the Varnation Award for Most Awesome DC TV Show. I don't know. We'll have to watch Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of Tomorrow didn't get it last week, though. I liked the episode, but it wasn't my favorite thing going on. Flash was by far my favorite thing going on last week. It seems that it's going to by far be my favorite thing going on this week. The episode of Flash last night was ridiculously good. If you have not seen it, you probably don't want to listen to any more of the show, or at least for the next 10 minutes, because I'm going to talk about Flash in detail. And don't forget, we've got Arrow coming up tonight live on the CW at 8 p.m. So I've only got about 35 minutes to get over there, before I need to get over to the forums and count down to the episode. And I encourage you to join me and everyone else that does that on KryptonSite.com. But moving to Flash, there are several key points that I want to talk about in tonight's episode. The first key point that I made is OMG, really big with a lot of exclamation marks after it, because that was how good I couldn't think of anything else to put down at that. At first thought it was just that. OMG. Earth 2 is about the most awesome place that I've ever seen. In this episode, we go to Earth 2. If you remember, they were trying to figure out a way to track down Zoom, get to Jessie quick and save her. And the idea that they came up with is they were going to shut down all the portals to the other worlds except for one. And they were going to go through that, get her, come out, and close it. And that basically, solve the problem. So their idea was they're going to go to Earth 2. They're going only Cisco, Barry, Wells. I think those are the only three that go. Pretty confident in that. Light is not here to tell me otherwise, so that's what happened. But Earth 2, very futuristic looking, but at the same time very old-timey. It's exactly what I would expect Earth 2 to look like. Because most of the time, Earth 2 is where they end up saying the JSA is from. So those are the heroes before the Justice League. And the way that it happened in the comics, they ended up rebooting it so that the Justice League was the first team, but they were not. The JSA was the first team. And, the Justice League, inevitably they rebooted it so that the JSA was on a different Earth, and the Justice League was Earth 1's first superhero team. And so at that point they had Alan Scott, they had Jay Garrick, they had several people that we know now, but the Superman that was over there was Kal-El with the L, not the EL, and at some point it just kind of it was really good, but it got crazy as far as the different characters and stuff, but always seems to be set in old time United States, and they're normally driving old-timey cars, and guys are wearing fedoras and stuff like that. Well, that's what we see in this episode when they go to Earth 2. It's a futuristic yet old-timey looking society. They even have old telephones, and the cars look like they're from the 1930s, only somehow futuristic. It was amazing. It's actually worth watching just for that if you haven't seen the episode. We find out in this episode a lot more about Jay Garrick, or at least this version of Jay Garrick. He has to he's trying to get his speed back so that he can help out with the situation, because obviously our Flash has gone to Earth 2. So we get to a point where there's a villain in Earth 1 that needs stopping, and our Flash is gone. So Jay, being Jay, wants to step up to the plate. Joe kind of pushes him into it and wants him to take that Velocity 6 that he had taken the last time he had speed. The thing about it was that he would have speed for a time and it would wear off, is all that we really know about it at this point. So basically Joe's telling him, you've got to take it, and Jay gets upset and tells him, you can't make me take that. And you start to wonder why he's reacting that way, and he ends up confessing to Caitlin that is because Velocity 6 was the start of all of his problems. So he initially became a speedster, and he tells her that wasn't enough for him, that he wanted to be faster, and so he thought that if he put his scientific mind to use, he could find a way to make himself faster. And he does. He creates the theorem, or the drug that we've seen him taking, Velocity 6, and he starts taking it, and it speeds up his power. But the deal with it is that it starts to deteriorate his cells, and so that's why he inevitably loses his speed. Zoom does not take his speed. He loses it because of the Velocity 6, the reaction that was happening with his body. And it's still currently killing him, so he doesn't want to take it again, and that's why he didn't want Barry to take it in the first place. So Caitlin, being a super genius, puts her mind to work, and she comes up with the Velocity 7, and I think I want to say that's the one they used. They might even be using 8, but he it does work, and I'm assuming it won't have the ill effects that that Six had. Now we don't know that yet because she's never said anything about it, but he does get to use his speed for a brief moment, and it leads to the most iconic Jay Garrick moment that we've seen, or at least I think that we've seen in the Flash so far. So he's going after the big bad that's attacking the Central City, and this guy's convinced that Flash is gone. So he's been rampaging in Central City for days, and he hasn't seen hide nor hair of the Flash. So there's been no Flash. He's been raising chaos, or raising heck, and he hasn't seen anything of the Flash. Nobody else is superpower. Doesn't seem to have anything to do with stopping bullets. So I'm not sure exactly why he continued to go on this rampage. But we see Jay show up, and the first thing that happens is he pulls this really kick-ass move. He pulls his helmet off, and he hits it several times really fast with one hand, and that causes a vibration, which causes basically kind of like a force push that knocks this guy down, and it looks so awesome. Jay is fully suited up. The guy gets back up and he makes a comment like, is that all you've got for me? And Jay replies with the most iconic thing ever. He totally jays up and he looks at the guy and he goes, "You don't ever want to see all that I've got." and I'm telling you, goosebumps on my arms. That was one of those moments where it was just like, we really just need a clip of that to play over and over again because it was so badass. So that was the fun with seeing Jay. I really enjoy that character. I really enjoy this portrayal of the character, and I hope that it bleeds over into the movie somehow or in some way, shape, or form. But a couple of things when they go to Earth 2. They do find Barry, and he has no powers. He is married to Iris, but Iris is a police detective. So she's the detective in the family outside of her grandfather at this point, and she pretty much runs the show. I mean, she's wearing the pants in the family when it comes to her and Barry. Joe is not a police detective or not even involved with the police. He's a lounge singer, and a pretty good one. Joe's a pretty good singer. But the issue that he has with Barry is that apparently Iris left a really good job at the newspaper to become a police detective for a bump in pay, and so that she could pay for Barry's tuition. And so Joe's all pissed off at Barry because he thinks that she would have been much, much safer if she stayed where she was at. And Barry, obviously, I guess I haven't told you that yet. Barry, in order to find out some information that he needs to know, ends up posing as himself on Earth 2. So he kidnaps himself, knocks himself out, and takes his own place. So he's running around pretending not to be the Flash. And so this makes for some very interesting interactions between him and this version of the West family. We see a lot of different characters in this episode. We see a lot of alternate versions of the characters, I guess we should say. So it's kind of funny to see who pops up and where they pop up, because you see villains popping in as police, you see the opposite happening. It's very funny as far as that's concerned. But we also have Cisco, Caitlin, and Ronnie in this Earth. Now, Cisco couldn't find his alternate version of himself for quite some time in the episode, so it was bothering him. What was the deal with that? So he finally finds out that Cisco is pretty much the leader of the bad guys outside of Zoom. So Zoom has most of the villains in this Earth working for him. And at the top of that list is Cisco's character on Earth 2. His villain name is Reverb, and he is a much more talented version of the character as far as using his powers. He's really mastered him, and he knows, and he makes a comment at one point that, Cisco's basically working with this parlor trick when he could be a god, because he has way more potential with his powers than he's even thought about tapping into yet. So you've got that happening. You've got Caitlin as Killer Frost, which should be anyway in our Earth, and I don't know if they're going to end up turning her into Killer Frost on our Earth, and not now, because they've done it in Earth 2. And then you've got Ronnie, who in this Earth is Deathstorm. He's got all the same powers as Firestorm, but he's called Deathstorm. So comic book fans heard a couple bells go off in there, Deathstorm being one of those, Reverb being the other. I'm going to read you a little bit in the hashtag DCTV Secrets this week about what significance those things have in regards to the comics. But the big thing that I'll start out with when we transition over to that is the trip to Earth 2. Then we end this episode, they're stuck in Earth 2. Barry ends up not being able to take down Zoom, ends up captured by Zoom. I won't go through all the details of how that happens. It's very, if you've seen it, if you haven't, you need to watch it anyway. But it's a very convoluted way that that Zoom ends up coming into the show and then capturing Barry, taking him off to his little hidey hole where he's keeping Jesse Quick, and that's where it ends. He's stuck there. So, and they're stuck in Earth 2. The portal has become unstable. They can't come back through. So on one end, you've got Jay and good Caitlin trying to fix it. And on the other end, we've got Barry now trapped. Cisco, I don't even know what's going on with him. Had kind of a Darth Vader moment. In fact, they referenced that it was a Darth Vader moment between himself and between himself and Reverb, where they were... Reverb wanted him to join the dark side, and he obviously denied it. So, but some very good comedy in there, some very good back and forth villain and hero banter, and I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna enjoy it. But when they travel to Earth 2, they see several things. It's really neat. During the part where they first start to go through the portal, pause it and look at what's in the background, because it's the multiverse. There's a bunch of different Earths, and then as they're going towards Earth 2, you see flashes of different characters in your peripherals. One of those flashes was Arrow. One of them was Supergirl. It was our version of Supergirl. One of them was Flash, but it wasn't this Flash. It was John Wesley Shipp's Flash from the 80s TV show. Another one was Grodd. And then there were two characters there's actually one character that we weren't sure what it was. It was a guy holding a gun. I think he had a fedora on or a hat. I couldn't tell if his face was distorted. It was kind of distorted by the scene, so I couldn't tell if it was Jonah Hex or, who the heck it was supposed to be. It did not look like a Western gun. So I don't know. It could have been the Question, I guess. But we saw parts of his face, so I don't think it was the Question. So we'll have to do a little bit of research and find out who that was. The other thing, we thought it was a person. I thought it was a guy with a metal helmet on. As I didn't pan, but as I let it get closer and closer and kept pausing, I realized it was a Legionnaire's ring. So they may work in the Legion in this series. I don't know. But it was really cool looking. It was almost as though it was a close-up of the ring on someone's finger. It was just the Legion symbol, and I couldn't see the rest of it. It didn't really look like a hand, so I don't know. It almost looked like a planet. But so that was neat. And if you see anything else in there, they're encouraging folks who see to go and put that on Twitter with hashtag DCTV Secrets. But we're going to go over there now. And I'm going to read some of those to you. But The Flash obviously airs Tuesday on the CW at 8 p.m. I highly suggest watching it. If you haven't seen, or if you can't catch it at that time, you can go to cwtv.com and watch it there after it airs. You can also go to Netflix and watch seasons 1 and 2, I believe. Or no, 1 and 2, so watch season 1 on Netflix. And that's the same can be said for most of the DC TV. They don't have Supergirl up there yet, obviously, because we're still in the first season, but they do have Arrow and The Flash there that you can catch up on. Okay, so we're moving over to DCComics.com for the next portion of the show, because we want to take a look at the hashtag DCTV secrets. When you first go to DCComics.com, on the right you'll see a picture with the, saying the secrets of the Flash episode 2.13, 2.13, season 2, episode 13. And you just click on it. It's going to take you in here, and it says Cisco and Barry venture to Earth 2 with Harry. Oh, I forgot Harry went with them. Okay. To rescue Jesse, and their visit to their alternate world means doppelganger hijinks ensue. They encounter dastardly versions of Caitlin and Ronnie, and a bespectacled Barry. Will they figure out the key to defeating Zoom? We have no idea, but we do know some of the hashtag DCTV secrets hidden in this week's episode. And so I'm going to scroll down here. They even give you a disclaimer of spoiler alert, don't go past this point. But the first one that we're going to talk about is Blink If You Miss It is the title, and that is what we were talking about, the trip to Earth 2, in which Barry told them don't get sidetracked by what you see, and they asked him, what are we going to see? And he says everything, and he was right. They did see most everything. It says the journey to Earth 2 is filled with visions, including a glimpse of a high-flying girl of steel you may be familiar with, and an entirely different Barry Allen. It was John Wesley Shipp's version of the character from the early 90s series. They did not say anything about the Legionnaire ring on here, so I looked at that earlier. I might go and tweet that. I don't know if people probably have, but they encourage you, if you see things that they don't post on here, to go and tweet it yourself at hashtag DCTV secrets. So I don't know I thought it was a Legionnaire ring. Tell me what you think in the comments if you don't or do. But the next part is bow ties are cool. Earth 2 Barry Allen makes different fashion choices than Earth 1 Barry. His tidy look in Earth 2 includes a bow tie. The accessory was actually a regular presence in Barry Allen's everyday ensembles, and in many of his comics. Iris West started this trend by giving him a bow tie. So there you go. Barry normally does wear a bow tie. He does in DCUO. He's also blonde in DCUO. She's as cold as ice. The Earth 2 version of Dr. Caitlin Snow, known as Killer Frost, is calculating, cruel, and only concerned with serving Zoom. The chilly villain has been through a few iterations in the comics, beginning with Firestorm number 3, where the character made her debut as Crystal Frost. The Caitlin Snow version of Killer Frost busted onto the scene in a special one-shot called Justice League of America number 7.2 Killer Frost. In this story, Caitlin was sent to an Arctic outpost of Star Labs to work on a thermodynamic engine. Hive infiltrated the remote location, and when they tried to kill her, Snow merged herself with ice from the engine's coolant system. The incident transformed her. She craved heat and could create objects and barriers made from ice. Fun fact, this one-shot was written by Sterling Gates, who is also the writer of our new digital-first series set in the world of the Supergirl TV show, The Adventures of Supergirl. So, very cool. Bringing darkness instead of light. As if it weren't bad enough for Barry and Cisco to face Killer Frost, they also have to confront an alternate version of Ronnie Raymond's Firestorm. He's Deathstorm in Earth 2. As fans likely know, and we said something about this earlier, that comic book fans probably heard some bells going off. As fans likely know, Deathstorm's comic book history is a little bit different. He was initially created from Black Lantern Firestorm during the events of Blackest Night and Brightest Day. This Deathstorm was initially a Black Lantern version of Firestorm, until he separated from both Ronnie and Jason Rush in Brightest Day number 10 and absorbed Professor Martin Stein's mind. Deathstorm maintained all the abilities he had as Black Lantern Firestorm. So they have Deathstorm, at least in the comics. So it was pretty cool, and they did make reference to in the show that Martin Stein was in there, and Ronnie hadn't let him out in a long, long time. So kind of goes in there, but it says Deathstorm's story changed a bit when he was first introduced into the New 52 during the Trinity War and Forever Evil storylines. This version of Deathstorm was from the Evil Earth 3 and served as part of the monstrous crime syndicate. He was created when Earth 3's Martin Stein fused his body and mind with a corpse. He wielded a corrupted but still functional Firestorm matrix. The next section on our DC TV secrets this week, or not ours, but on DCComics.com, is shaking things up. While Barry's away, the metahumans will play. Adam Fells makes his move and causes a stir. Also known as Geomancer, the villain first showed up in JSA number 5. He was a mercenary with the ability of geokinesis and belonged to the Injustice Society. We talked about Cisco and his alternate. Said the Earth 2 fun isn't over. Cisco encounters a malicious doppelganger of himself called Reverb. He displays a superior command of Cisco's vibing ability. The role of Reverb was taken by Cisco Ramon's brother Armando in the comics. So in the comics they were brothers. Armando was the older brother and he was Reverb. He was not a villain so much as he was competitive with his younger brother. Surfacing in Justice League of America number 233, Reverb helped out the Booster Gold Lead conglomerate and could project shock waves from his hands. The visit to Earth 2 means DC TV's secrets are coming out of the episode's ears. I like that. These are only a few of those to be found, so it says, help us out and share some of your DC TV discoveries down in the comments. You can also go to Twitter and tweet with the hashtag DCTV secrets. So those are the DC TV secrets for Flash this week. I didn't do the Supergirl secrets. I looked at those yesterday and they really weren't anything that was, a secret so much in the episode. So moving on to the pull list for this week. We already talked about it on Monday. Hasn't changed, but Batman number 49, Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 3, and Justice League Gods and Monsters, all on this week's pull list. All are now currently available on DCComics.com and in stores, so you can enjoy those for yourselves. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been DCU Tonight. We are live on VAR Nation. That's the channel. You can help support the channel and all the programming there on YouTube by clicking on the support button. You can also visit the Patreon page, patreon.com/VARNation, or just share and like the videos and subscribe to the channel. That's more than enough to support us. We thrive on the subscriptions. We love your love. We love the love. But no, it helps the channel. The more subscribers we can get, obviously, the better. So spread the word. We're up to 135 subscribers now. Loving every single one of you. So thank you so much for hooking up with us and I guess enjoying what we do. I don't know if you actually enjoy it or not, but thanks for subscribing anyway. We've got Arrow coming up tonight in about 10 minutes, so I urge you to get over to KryptonSite.com, jump on the forums, and talk about, or count down to the episode, and you can get it on the live discussion during the episode. We will be back with DCU Tonight on Friday, about 7:30, 8 o'clock, where we'll go over tonight's episode of Arrow, and we'll talk about Legends of Tomorrow. So, again, thanks for joining us. For Hippolyta Kent, this is Rock Var saying peace out.